Good afternoon. The Constitutional Court has found that President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to suspend Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane was rational. In a unanimous judgment delivered virtually today, the Apex Court upheld the DA and the President's appeal applications against the Western Cape High Court order. It also dismissed Mkhwebane's bid for confirmatory order of the High Court judgment. That matter emanates from the Western Cape High Court judgment in September last year, which declared the suspension of Mkhwebane invalid. It stated, among other things, that it could reasonably have been seen as retaliation against her decision to investigate the alleged theft at the President's Phala farm.
The appeals must accordingly be upheld, and the conditional application for confirmation of the High Court orders and cross appeals dismissed. And this court finds that the Section 18 application for leave to appeal was an entirely unnecessary and anticipatory proceeding for which our court procedures make no provision. The risk that granting it would open the floodgates for similar applications is not far-fetched. It is therefore not in the interest of justice to entertain it. This finding dispenses with the need to deal with these merits, and it must fail.
SABC News reporter Kenny Mapanga has been following court proceedings and joins us now. Kenny, always good to have you in studio. Just take us through what led to that decision of the Constitutional Court earlier today.
Well, good afternoon to you, Nzinga, and the viewers at home. So, of course, you may remember last year when the Phala saga became public, the public protector, or suspended public protector rather, Advocate Mkhwebane, made her intention public to investigate the complaint by the ATM's Vuyo Zungula about the alleged robbery at the farm. Less than 2 days later, she was suspended by the President. She then went to the Western Cape High Court, challenging that suspension. She was successful in the Western Cape High Court. They found that looking at those close sequence events is that the President, one could rather draw the conclusion that the President's decision was irrational and out of retaliation, and he may have been conflicted at the time because he would have been the subject of an investigation that she was conducting. Remember, prior to her suspension, she had sent the so-called 31 questions to the President that he had to respond to 14 days from the 7th of June. And then I think 2 days later is when the suspension happened. Of course, when that victory came in the Western Cape High Court, it was short-lived. The DA immediately launched an appeal application, which was then joined by the President, who felt that the integrity of the Office of the Public Protector was paramount in this issue. And that is what brings us to the Constitutional Court today and the judgment that we've just seen being delivered virtually.
Normally, we know that the Constitutional Court is the apex court. Once they pronounce on something, it's the end of it. Is that the case in this case?
Well, not necessarily. We've seen in the past that there have been rescission applications that have been brought. I don't know if that is a possibility for Advocate Mkhwebane. Remember, her term ends in October in a few months, and the investigation that was in question, or that she felt that she was suspended about, the Phala investigation, that has concluded and reached its finality, and the report has been made public. So it's not clear at this stage whether the suspended public protector rather will utilize that option of a rescission application.
I know that the court is normally seized with matters of only what's in front of it. Sometimes we have judges speaking about things ancillary to it or making a commentary on maybe concerns around it. Did we see anything like that today, or was it just a straight judgment?
I think it was a straight judgment. Deputy Chief Justice Mandisa Maya dealt with the sequence of events and how the court formed its unanimous opinion that the President's decision to suspend the public protector was in fact rational. I mean, she began from the 18th of March when the President instituted that process of suspension by seeking reasons why the advocate should not be suspended, and then she was only suspended a bit later in June rather. And then they've also looked at the National Assembly and the inquiry that it is investigating the conduct of Advocate Mkhwebane and her fitness to hold office, and also reached the conclusion that the president didn't gain anything by suspending her. Rather, and she didn't suffer any harm because she was given the opportunity to go defend herself in that inquiry while on full pay. And then if you look at the president's side of his case, that Phala investigation, that there was an allegation that there was conflict because he was implicated at the time, that she couldn't have been suspended, or that the suspension could have been out of retaliation. The investigation, as we've seen, continued, and it was completed, and that report was made public. So that retaliation argument and the acting irrationally argument didn't quite stand. The ConCourt held a different view, and I think that's why they reached the conclusion that they reached today.
Kenny, do we know why the Constitutional Court delivered the judgment virtually, one? And two, have we have any comment from any of the parties affected by this case?
Well, it's not clear why the ConCourt judgment delivered it virtually. It's not unusual. We have seen some of those judgments being delivered virtually. We saw the Arto one yesterday. That was also virtual, so it's not anything out of the ordinary. And then, of course, throughout the course of the day, we will be hearing from the presidency, the suspended public protector, and the Democratic Alliance as they react to this very important judgment today.
Trust you to bring us all of those updates. Kenny Maphanga, SABC News reporter, just giving us insight into that judgment that was handed down earlier on today. Thank you so much.